Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Wor Wellbeing podcast. I'm joined today by Danielle Robinson from the vaccines team, and I've got loads and loads of questions that I want to ask you. I'm really intrigued about your area of work. So hello, thank you for coming on.
Hello.
Can you tell me a little bit more about your background, kind of where you were before you came into this job and exactly what your role is within the vaccines team now?
Yeah, I mean, I've done quite a few different roles throughout my career, but previously to this, I went into the children's immunisation team where I got seconded into the vaccination team, having worked with OC Health to deliver the staff vaccines after the children's COVID. Prior to that, I spent about 12 years in sexual health, so completely different.
Oh wow!
But
Big
all
change.
of a public health.
Yeah.
So public health protection type of a role.
So what about your role within the team that you're in now?
So within this team, and like I say, I was seconded into sort of just helping OC Health sort of deliver winter vaccines as such, flu and COVID to staff. It's developed quite significantly since I came into the role. We supported patients in the community. We offer the vaccines to inpatients and pregnant women. We took that on in 2022. So we not only do winter vaccines, we give vaccines all year round now, hence now trying to get out there as the vaccination team. So we've got staff at the moment in maternity, antenatal, every day, all year round, right, delivering pertussis vaccines to pregnant women. So I oversee the clinical side and more recently the operational side.
I bet you're busy.
Very busy.
So, that's interesting to me straight away, because I thought that we were going to just talk today about winter vaccines. As I've just said to you before we started recording, I kind of thought you were responsible for the flu and COVID, but give us a little bit of an overview of kind of what the service that your team provides.
Yes, so my team sit within occupational health and wellbeing now. I've got Laura McKenna as our clinical lead, and I oversee the team. Like I said, we do deliver flu and COVID vaccines to all healthcare workers, eligible healthcare workers, with over the winter months. But we also deliver pertussis vaccines at the same time, which is an all year round vaccine. We've got current rises in pertussis and measles nationally. So our team is now responsible for checking immunity of all of our staff within the trust, to see whether they've had their MMR vaccines or whether they've had their blood test to check for immunity for measles. So we're undergoing quite a big piece of work at the moment for that. All staff working with pregnant women and infants should have been invited for pertussis vaccines. They need that every 5 years. We are looking into potentially doing pneumococcal vaccines for inpatients. The amount of vaccines that are out there that occupational health offer to staff is quite substantial. You've got hepatitis B, hepatitis C, A, typhoid, depending on where people work.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of work.
And are they usually given at the recruitment stage?
Yeah. So they're given at recruitment, and the size of the organisation, it's a lot of work for the occupational health department. So we're currently supporting them with that.
Yeah.
We are introducing MEC as well within our team. We've got MEC train the trainers, we've got health and wellbeing champions.
Good to hear.
Yeah.
Tick.
Yeah, so it's not just the vaccines that we're here to support staff. If we're discussing one thing, we can sort of discuss, signpost people
elsewhere.
in other places.
And kind of what are the main challenges you encounter when it comes to getting staff vaccinated? And I mean in terms of kind of the winter vaccines, but also just in terms of the size of the project, as you're saying.
I mean, the volume is huge.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got about 12,000 staff. All staff are eligible for flu, only frontline for COVID currently. So the volume of the work is huge. What we struggle with every single year, though, is getting staff to tell us their status.
Yeah.
We know we've got a lot of hesitant staff about vaccines. All we can say is we are here. We've got new email, new phone number for people to pick up the phone, whether it's June or December.
Yeah.
If they want extra information, they want to chat to somebody, there's always somebody there to talk to.
I think maybe people are hesitant. Do you think people are worried that you're going to try and convince them?
Yeah, I think so. And we're not here to convince people. We're here to advise, encourage.
Yeah.
We know it's the best thing to protect yourself, your patients, your loved ones.
Yeah.
But we're not going to be jumping down people's throats if they say they don't want one.
Yeah.
So every single year we go out and say, look, if you don't want the vaccines, please just tell us.
Yeah.
If you've had the vaccines elsewhere, because people still do go to GPs, they go to the pharmacy, inform us. It's a huge task having to email thousands of staff every single week for that status.
Yeah.
We're not going to be coming at people because they've decided they don't want the vaccines.
Yeah, yeah.
But it would just be a huge help if they're informed us.
Yes, definitely. And I think, you know, I've only been in the trust just coming up to a year, but I've seen you've got good presence around, you know, good signage and, you know, in the hubs and the wellbeing centres and things, you can see that there are people that you can go and approach. Mm-hmm. So there's bound to be, you'll know loads more of them than I do, very unhelpful myths around probably vaccinations, full stop. We all remember, you know, the MMR myths and all the rest of it, but there must be loads. Now's your chance to bust those.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest one we tend to hear is the vaccine can give you flu or COVID.
Right.
It can't. It's inactive, which essentially means the virus is dead. It's been killed before it enters the syringe, before it enters your body.
And that's so bizarre, isn't it? Because I think that is just a common thought process. People think, oh, they're giving you a little bit of COVID to protect you against it. Yeah,
it's a dead virus. It's been killed off.
Yeah.
It's working to boost your immune system. What we are finding, yes, it's got its side effects, which can make people poorly, and it's about sort of 24, 48 hours that can make you a little bit unwell. What we find is if you've got a little bit of a cold or something before you have the vaccine, you are more likely to be probably a little bit worse after your vaccine because it's aggravated those symptoms.
Right.
So it's not giving you the vaccine, it's aggravated.
Yes.
But we will assess. We don't say don't come in because you've got a little bit of a cold. Mm-hmm. We will assess on the day, and if you're really poorly, we're going to say no, come back. The other myth that we get is an awful lot of people say, oh, well, I don't need flu vaccine because I've had flu. When you question them about how they felt and what their symptoms, they've actually had a common cold. And a common cold can be nasty and it can last for a few weeks. But it's certainly not the flu.
Yeah, we just had a conversation about the flu, didn't we, before we started recording this, and if you've had the flu, you know you've had the flu. Very different to a common cold, but it is another myth that people don't come and get it because they think they've got immunity, right? Because
they've had what they think is flu.
Yeah. And in terms of, I don't know, I wonder whether, remember those hubs that you used to have in COVID when you used to go and get the vaccines and it felt very, very clinical and there was queues out the door, places and stuff. And I wonder whether that kind of affects some people and makes people feel a bit more nervous. Obviously, you then have people who are just nervous about needles, full stop. Yeah. If people are nervous about it and if they have just kind of questions, where can they go within your team for information and support?
We're based on Ward 2. You know, speak to your manager. All managers and their managers, the business unit representatives, know who I am. They can get in touch or contact occupational health.
Yes.
They can put you in touch with myself.
I mean, I suppose it works both ways, doesn't it? It's a benefit to you guys if people come and ask the questions, and it's a benefit to them to then have their kind of mind put at rest about, you know, that it's not something to be scared about. What are the main benefits, would you say, of having, especially those winter vaccines?
It protects you, not only yourself, but it protects obviously your close family, your friends, but also the patients that we look after.
Yeah.
We look after some of the most vulnerable patients. Even if you were to have your vaccines, and we can't say that by having your vaccines you're not going to get flu or COVID, because that's not what it's going to do. It's not going to prevent you from picking up the virus. What it does is it prevents you from becoming severely poorly with it. It's if you've got somebody within your household that's immunosuppressed and you come home, not everybody knows that they're carrying the virus. So that I always say that I use the example that there's 3 of us in the room now. If I came in here sort of full of symptoms, coughing, sneezing, spluttering, and say you, Sarah, you've got a really good immune system, and Jessie didn't.
Jessie's our lovely comms person, by the way, who's recording this in case people are thinking, who's this Jessie? He hasn't said much.
You would both pick up my virus.
Right.
You may not show any signs or symptoms of it at all. However, Jessie with a low immune system would start coughing and sneezing, eventually would become poorly. What the vaccine does is prevents that spread.
Yes.
Prevents me from getting poorly, prevents that spread, so I'm not going to come in here, sit and pass all my germs on. Which is why it is important, whether they're all important. Yeah,
generally, but especially for us who work in a healthcare setting, it is so important, isn't it? I think we've covered really how it works in terms of you guys reaching out and contacting as many people as you possibly can. You're obviously doing a great job at making your service visible so that it's approachable. But would you suggest that managers need to be kind of mentioning this to their staff, maybe putting it in their monthly meetings, maybe, something like that?
Yeah, we do in the winter, we quite actively get business unit reps involved, which I would like to pick up a little bit more sort of through the summer as well, just to start that educational, the myth busting sessions. We've always encouraged managers, senior staff members to get in touch with us if they want us to come and do a little bit of education around any of the vaccines.
Right.
We also, when it gets to the seasonal vaccines, we do target the high risk areas within our trust first.
Right.
Knowing the staffing pressures, the vaccines are taken to them first, so they don't have to come off the ward. So these are the ones that are more likely to come into contact with patients being admitted with seasonal illnesses. So we will bring the vaccines to them, but very much throughout the rest of the year, the summer months, we are encouraging people to come to us and say, look, would you mind coming and doing a half an hour presentation just on the benefits? We can arrange that. But again, any queries for any managers out there, just to get in contact with us.
That's brilliant. I think it'd be great to get to a point, wouldn't it, for your service where kind of you were overloaded by people wanting to come to you to ask rather than you having to go out. And it probably will over time, it'll get that way. Oh, that's fab. Can I ask you one last question that I've asked everybody so far who's been on the Wor Wellbeing podcast, and that is, What do you do to improve your own well-being?
Wow.
Putting you on the spot.
I think the biggest thing is I've got 2 dogs.
You know what? I knew you were going to say that. I had a feeling you were going to say, I love walking my dogs.
I mean, we've got a miniature zoo at our house.
Come on, what's in the zoo?
We've got cat, tortoise, rabbit, anything that
honestly,
the youngest wants to bring back.
I'm going to level with you. That sounds like my idea of hell. Oh, I'm stressed just thinking about keeping all those things alive.
So we have actually got Pets Corner in the garden, where the tortoise and the rabbit live in a big shed.
Beautiful.
Heated shed. I think
you
they've
don't
got more
walk
heat
with,
than my house.
You don't take the tortoise for a walk though, do you?
No, I mean, my youngest did decide he was going to buy a harness for the rabbit and was trying to get the rabbit to, but no, that didn't work. However, on an evening walk, when I take the dogs out, the cat does come.
What,
she follows us round.
Oh, that's actually lovely. You're like the female Dr. Dolittle.
So yeah, she comes on the evening walks, not to be left out. It's probably because we kick her out at night, just thinking, well, if I follow them, I'll get back in the house.
Oh, that's fantastic. Oh, brilliant. Well, thank you so much for coming on. Really enjoyed chatting to you and hearing all about the service. I think it's obviously so important and you're doing a brilliant job. Keep it up, keep it up. Thank you very much, everybody, for listening. And remember to subscribe if you don't want to miss out on any future episodes. Thank you.